want to recommend that you utilize Planet Beach for all of your spa needs. You pay one nominal flat fee, and then you have unlimited use of the spa. I go in there and get massages all the time. It's, after a long day, I drop in and get anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour of massages. It's just absolutely wonderful. It's good for the soul, good for the body, and just a great place to go. And there's all kinds of other spa treatments and that you're able to use on an unlimited basis as well. So we recommend you going out there to Planet Beach. We also for those of you who are on the Phoenix side and they're not in the Glendale area, we recommend that you utilize PJ's Flowers, which is over on about 19th Avenue in Northern. So thanks so much. We appreciate these advertisers for joining us, for being part of the show along with our listeners. And we also are going to be talking today about a few different things, but one of them is going to be some changes that we are finding to Trusted Team. A lot of you have noticed that. We have had a lot of conversation about Trusted Team, and Trusted Team is just an absolutely wonderful product, wonderful program that kind of covers all the gaps that we have inside of our social media. For those of you who are brand new to social media, I'm just going to give a brief overview of the social media products and the best ways to utilize them. Now, it's not a one-size-fits-all, but what it is, it's kind of like saying everybody needs a car. Now we've got to determine what kind of a car you need. So let's talk about what every car should have in common. All cars should have 4 wheels on them. They should have a steering wheel, they should have an engine, and they should also have some fuel to go into them. And they should also have a driver. So these things are all common to all cars. I don't care whether you have a Rolls Royce or a Yugo. You want to have, those are the different parts to your car that are going to be common among all of those. And then we can talk about customizing those a little bit. So if you're brand new to social media, I still recommend that the front 2 wheels of your social media, albeit I have my love-hate relationship with Facebook. It's the Facebook profile would be one wheel, the Facebook fan page would be the other wheel. I'm one of the few practitioners that would still recommend that you have a special Facebook profile for your business as a business owner, kind of like you do on LinkedIn. On LinkedIn, it's meant for the individual, not necessarily for the company. They have a company page for that. But your LinkedIn profile is where you put yourself out as the owner of your business, or the CEO of your business, the president of your business, the marketing director of your business, whatever it might be. So that's what I recommend that you do also on Facebook. And if somebody complains and you get pulled down, then you can curse good old Mark Zuckerberg like I do for not being friendly to you. And then you have your Facebook fan page. The reason why I recommend the Facebook profile, and just make sure that you act as a good citizen inside of the community of Facebook, and don't overuse some of the tools that you have inside of your Facebook profile. For example, you have a messaging center that you can message back and forth directly, and it can be an instant messaging center too. You can see who's online and you can interact with them, and that's something that Mark Zuckerberg doesn't want you to do. He's very anti-business, and if Mark Zuckerberg wants to take me on that and act like he's pro-business, great. Tell him to come out and prove that he's pro-business, and he's welcome to come on the air and set me straight. But so far I'm seeing that Mark Zuckerberg as a person and the way he acts out in his business, it turns out in his business he's extremely anti-business. The only thing that he's pro-business about is he'll take your money. But other than that, Google is very pro-business, even though they'll take your money, and they give a very good alternative for them taking your money, that you could actually organically get yourself ranking rather than just doing pay-per-click. What Mark Zuckerberg is the equivalent of is just having pay-per-click, period, and the story, and not very good at that. So that's the story of advertising on Facebook. The organic side, he continues to gut the power of the organic side, which is your Facebook fan page, so much. he just gutting. We might as well call him Mark Gutterberg, and for all intents and purposes, that he guts his own business. He guts other people's businesses. He guts the strategies that businesses can utilize to advertise, and he's going to pay the price over time. The school of fish are actually leaving him. He's already losing a lot of favorability inside of Facebook, and he's using it to smaller market shares, but he's got to be careful that he doesn't get the MySpace syndrome, where everybody leaves because it's just actually not that cool, so. That's the Facebook, okay, but I still, even through all of those problems, I still recommend that they're your two front wheels. All right, so now let's talk about the back wheels of your social media. The back two wheels of your social media are going to be LinkedIn, and if you don't have a business-to-business flavor to your product, the nice thing is everything is business to business, even if it's not business to business. In other words, if you sell directly to consumers, if you sell to businesses, guess what you have in every business? A bunch of consumers. So if you're talking to the owner of the business, he's a consumer, she's a consumer. If you are talking to the marketing director, the accountant, wherever you are, whatever entry point you have into a business, you're talking to a consumer. And you might be able to talk to an influencing consumer as well. It's a little bit harder to find influencing consumers inside of Facebook, but when you are in LinkedIn, you actually can find people who might be very influential, the HR director, the marketing director. There are companies that inside of HR have corporate cultural creators that's their job, is just to make sure that everybody inside of the corporation has a great experience at the company. And so if you have a consumer product that might make that company's life better, the individual's lives better, you can actually go to that influencer and distribute your product through that influencer. So there's a lot of different ways that you can utilize LinkedIn. So I still advocate LinkedIn as your third wheel, and as your fourth wheel, I also still recommend YouTube. YouTube has become extremely powerful. There's more searches throughout each day on YouTube than there are in Google. So Google doesn't mind that at all, though, because Google owns YouTube, and what a great purchase they made when they brought on YouTube. So they're twice as powerful as a result of having YouTube and Google, and so that's why it's very easy to find YouTube videos through Google. Is that it's obviously something that they want to be found, and so they help optimize your videos inside of Google, and that's a good thing. Speaking of, LinkedIn does a really good job with their SEO, so they actually will help push your LinkedIn profiles. If you do a good job developing your LinkedIn profile, you have a lot of contacts, and you have a good company page, and you make sure that everything is filled out properly. You have a lot of visits. You're one of the top people that people visit, and you're very active inside of LinkedIn. You'll find that all of a sudden your LinkedIn profile is getting found very easily on Google. So LinkedIn will help you on that SEO process as well for your LinkedIn profile. So keep that in mind as well. Some little helpful hints along those lines. We also have now the steering wheel. We need to talk about that. When I first started social media, Twitter created themselves into kind of a one posting location where you could post on Twitter, and then it would post on your Facebook, post on your LinkedIn. And so we started utilizing Twitter, and then Hootsuite came out, and that was quite if you haven't used Hootsuite, I do recommend going over to Hootsuite and checking it out. They can have scheduled scheduled postings. That's something that's really nice to be able to have, so you can kind of sit down with your marketing team at the beginning of each week, and maybe you are the entire marketing team from start to finish. Then that's fine. Sit down and map out the times that you want to post. Now, historically, the best two times to post are at 10 o'clock in the morning and 3 o'clock in the afternoon. But that is changing a little bit, and the reason why it's changing a little bit is because of mobile devices, the smartphones. We're finding that between 6 and 7 is a very high traffic time for social media, and then also I hate to say it, the text and drive also includes don't IM on Facebook and drive as well, and so. And IM has become more and more prevalent as well, which is something that's very conducive to cell phones. Long story short, there might be 4 times throughout the day, depending on what audience you want to reach. And if you're trying to reach a mobile audience, then it might be early in the morning and late in the afternoon. Now, this is a family show, so if you want to cover up your ears for the next little bit, a few seconds on what I'm going to say about texting, is they found out that the 2 most prevalent activities after intimate relations are that don't have anything to do with intimacy. So in other words, the 2 most surprising activities following intimate relations are smoking. And we all kind of knew that. People who smoke, they got to get on their smoke break, no matter when and where it is and why it is, and that just is something that it's an addiction, right? But something very akin to that addiction, and this is why it's important for you to understand this in relation to social media, is to check your cell phone, your mobile phone social media, to see if you had any responses. So that's a little bit creepy that's the first thing you reach for. If you're not addicted to smoking, you're addicted to your social media. Following intimate relations, that to me is creepy, because that means that person that you were with was not the first thing on your mind. So anyway, all very disgusting, but also it brings back to why I'm frustrated with Mark Zuckerberg. I know that was not a very good transition there, but let me tell you why I'm frustrated with him. Obviously, the first thing people are reaching for their phone for isn't because they're going to search something on Google. They're reaching for their social media. That means that is the most highly addictive thing outside of cigarettes and sex, okay? That's the most highly addictive thing that's out there, and that's what they're reaching for. And Mark Zuckerberg can't figure it out. That ticks me off. He can't figure out how to be more powerful than Google. That ticks me off, because he has something that's way more addictive than Google is, outside of the porn that everybody looks at on Google, of course. But people aren't reaching because they're going to go search for porn. They're reaching because they want to search for the relationships that they have, which obviously they're even more important than the main relationship they have at the time, because that's who they're having intimate relationships with. So enough said there. All I have to say is, if Mark Zuckerberg is captain of the ship that is one of the most addictive, legal, and semi, not socially, what's the term I'm looking for? Against social, it's not embarrassing to say that you're on Facebook, okay? It is embarrassing to say that you're surfing porn. It's not, and that's addictive. But just as addictive as that is the social media, but that's not embarrassing. And Mark Zuckerberg has not figured out how to capitalize on that, besides a very anemic, lukewarm response. I give him a 1 out of 10 on his ingenuity on something that he has in his hands, which is most powerful. So what would I recommend for him? That's what I'm going to talk about when we get back from break. Now, of course, Mark Zuckerberg is much more wealthy than I am. However, he was just in the right place at the right time, and he is not capitalizing on what he has. Bill Gates was there at the right place at the right time, and he capitalized. Some people think that he capitalized way too much, but now he's the second richest man in the world. And if Mark Zuckerberg isn't careful, he's not going to get there. So when we come back from break, we're going to talk about what I feel Mark Zuckerberg should do to make the social media products so much more powerful, and I think you'll agree with me. But keep your pen and paper handy, because I want you to send messages to Mark Zuckerberg to say, get it right. So don't go away. We'll be right back after the break. This is Kurt Wilhelm, the host of The Social Universe, here on World Talk Radio and Voice America. We'll be right back.